All right, we are live. This is my second update while I'm in Texas. Get this wire out of the way. Right. This is exciting. So today I got my nails done. I brought my own color because I'm a nerd and I really like this pearly ice color. 862 by D&D. So pearly ice is the color. It's kind of like a milky, creamy ice. Pearl ice. I guess that's why it's called pearly ice. Anyway, I really like it, so I brought it with me and got my nails done here in Texas, and also got my hair done. So this is actually my hair. So most of the time, you all see me with a wig on, and that's because I was coming from a male military cut when I first transitioned, which was only oh, this is like my anniversary, like 2-year anniversary since coming out. Well, not really coming out, but since like starting transition, I came out later, so I'm not quite 2 years out. But I started transition in September of 2023. So this is really fun because this is my hair growth since September of 2023, which is 2 years of growth from a number one on the sides and finger length up top, male military cut. So I'm really excited. It's coming in. It's coming in really nicely. I got some highlights and lowlights. So I darkened the roots and got some highlights, but I have kind of a strawberry blonde hair. It's very similar to the wig, and I actually brought my wig in and um, had the guy match those highlights and those roots because that's kind of what I'm going for. But with the natural red in my hair, it kind of makes it a little bit more auburnish, I guess. I don't know, like sun-kissed. I don't know, I like it. It's coming in, so I'm really excited. I'm headed to the UK next week, to a skateboarding retreat. It's called The Skate Retreat, and I will be skateboarding and volunteering and helping people learn how to skate all at the same time for about a week, in the UK, and then I'll spend a weekend in Amsterdam just for fun on my way out since I fly via Amsterdam from DC. So I'm really excited, and because I'll be skateboarding, I won't be wearing the wig for most of that time. Plus, it's outdoors and it's in the woods and it's like glamping, and I just don't want to deal with wigs. So got this colored, got it cut and layered, and everything's ready so that way I can enjoy it while skateboarding and it not be overly cumbersome with the wig and the heat of wearing a wig while trying to skateboard. So I'm excited to do some skating. Um, what else? Okay, so updates from this past week and some change. Comedy in Austin so far. Um, Probably the best performance I've had since being here. Done some open mics and some riff mics, which have been fun and learning, and also a tag writing mic I did at Sunset Strip where they you know, kind of critique or not critique, but they give you like options for your jokes. They listen to you and they write tags for your jokes and like, oh, you could try this or try that. And that was really fun. I really enjoyed that experience. But probably the best performance I've had was at Shakespeare's on Sunday night. I did the Money Mic with hosted by Owen. I think his handle might be just like Owen. I want to give him proper credit here because he's a really cool guy. He's from Ireland, and let me see if I can find him. Owen, where are you? Yeah, just like Owen is his Instagram handle. So give him a follow. He hosts mics in Austin, and he's really fun. Yeah, he's got the distinct Irish accent, so that's pretty fun too. And anyway, it's a money mic, so they have multiple rounds, and it's 5 comedians in one round, and you get 4 minutes, 5 minutes, I can't remember. And I did that, and I won my round. So how you decide if you win is the audience cheers as a way of voting, and I got the loudest quote unquote cheers uh, for me, and so I won that one, and then I think in order to win that, I had to go head to head in that round. I can't remember. maybe not. But anyway, so I won that round. Second round of comedians, a Comedy Mothership regular came in and did the second round. And so, when you win the round, you either win the money that's been put in the pot, or you can gamble it and go against the winner of the second round. So, because I'm only here to send a message, it's not about the money, just like the Joker says. I gambled it because I wanted to compete against someone else and do even more jokes. And so the second round had a group of comedians, 5 comedians, and one of them was a regular from the Mothership, uh, Riley Gilmore. And I've seen his act a few times at the Mothership, and he's really good. I love his stuff. And he did, his bits and stuff, and he won his round. And so then he had to face me as the winner of the first round. And so Owen gave us 2 minutes each. And I decided to go second, hoping that if I go second and I'm funny, that people will cheer harder for me. Being I was more recent, I don't know. It's just a lame strategy. But I was also curious what Riley was going to do, and maybe I could play off of it. And I didn't really get to play off of his stuff. I couldn't think of anything too funny. I tried to make a joke about. He says in his act that his mom is like a lesbian or something. I tried to make a joke about dating the Gilmore girls since his last name is Gilmore, but it was not very good. But I did try crowd work on that 2-minute challenge. So I used the crowd to kind of introduce my joke that I was going to tell about coming out to my daughter and how that was. And so I remember asking the audience, and I met this couple, Logan and Amanda, and I asked, have you ever had to tell your child something very difficult? And Amanda said, yeah, I had to tell my children that they have 2 moms. And I was like, is that like a lesbian situation or a bisexual thing? And she was like, no, I was a lesbian. I was like, oh, and you're not anymore? And she's like, no. And I left it on the table because in the moment I was so surprised that that was the response. I couldn't think of anything funny to say. I was very curious, but I didn't want to go into like an interview with this woman in front of everybody. So I just launched into my joke from there. But later, I actually bumped into that same couple at the secret show at Sunset Strip. I was an audience member. I was not in the secret show, and was sat next to them. And I was like, man, I would have loved to have asked you more. The more I thought about it, of course, later on that night, I thought about a joke of like, oh, and Logan must have been your conversion therapist, or was his dick the conversion therapist? Something funny because she was into women and now she's married to a man. And so I don't know, plenty of things I could have tried, but I'm just not practiced enough at doing crowd work. So that was fun and interesting. But yeah, that money mic was really cool because I went up against Riley Gilmore, who's a regular at the Mothership. And this was at Shakespeare's where this mic was taking place. And I was like, it was like a battle between who was being cheered harder for or louder for. So Owen did it a couple times to see, is it Joe or is it Riley? It was Joe, it was Riley. And it was very close. It was like a shred of a hair. They were definitely louder for Riley, but it was just like so close, which was really cool because here I am hoping that maybe one day I get the opportunity to become a regular at the Mothership and perform in those rooms. And then I competed against, in a fun way, of course, not anything crazy, but just competed against someone from the Mothership who's doing regular spots there. And so it was really cool. And then later that week, of course, I went to some Mothership shows and bumped into him in the lobby and just said, hey, that was really neat, like going up against you and stuff. And he was like, yeah, you did really well. Like, I was like, well, thanks. Like, you did too. I love your stuff. And it was just really cool to go up against you and hold my own, so to speak. Um, so yeah, that was a really cool experience. And so shout out to Owen for setting up that mic. And Ashley, who helps hosts it. I also did barking, is what they call when you stand on the street and try to bring people in. And so I was also doing that for the show, which was really cool. So I was trying to get people in for the show, and just paying my dues and trying to hustle and grind like other comedians have to do. And so I was out there on the street a couple hours prior, just encouraging people to come in and stuff, and just being silly, like, "Hey, come in, you'll see a Kill Tony comedian." And obviously, I'm talking about myself. Or at one point, I was like, "Come see the tranny; she's going to be performing," and just being goofy. But Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, Shakespeare's is fun. I love going there and doing their mics there. Let's see, what else do I have on my list? So I did a riff mic at Creek in the Cave. It's called Off the Cuff, and Rachel Wolfson, who's a comedian in the Austin scene and fairly well known, she actually DM'd me on X and invited me to it, but I guess she wasn't there this week because she was there last week, and I didn't get to go last week, but I went this week, and she wasn't there, so I didn't get to meet her, which was unfortunate, but I did get to do the riff mic, which was fun. The only downside is that it was like 100 degrees that day, and for some reason, the riff mic was outside on the back patio in the sun, and so that was interesting. But there were a lot of comedians there. I had to be like 17 to 20 comedians there. Obviously, no one there to actually watch, but it's once again good practice. I don't have a lot of improv practice. And so riff mic, you pull a topic out of the bucket and then you're supposed to riff on it. And that one was you get 4 minutes or four topics, whichever comes first. And by the time I got up there, because I signed up near the end of the line, there was only one topic in there, I think. And so I did that topic and then I ran out of topics. So then I just started asking the folks in the audience, which were other comedians, like, throw out a topic, what do you want to talk about? And kind of just turned it into an interactive podcast, so to speak. One guy asked me, and he was Middle Eastern. He asked how I felt about Middle Eastern men, and so I just told stories about being hit on by them, and Man Love Thursdays in Iraq and stuff. Then I asked him where he was from, and he said Iran, and he's a good-looking guy. So I don't know if he was curious and just or just generally asking, but no, he was a good-looking guy. And Juanita was there, who she's a trans woman who's a fairly regular on Kill Tony now. She's been on a few times, I think 4 or 5 times. Um, she was just on this last episode on Monday with Rob Schneider and Donnell, and she had a really funny interview. But I've seen her in a couple mics. She's really kind, and I like talking to her, of course. But I always joke when she's there at one of the mics and I'm at. I'm like, there can only be one trans comedian per mic, so one of us has to leave. Like the token black guy, like. But no, she's good. She's really neat. I also met another trans comedian, Alexa. Where was she at? She was at Narbar last week when I was doing an open mic. She was really fun too. Really, really cool and just funny and, just it's such a cool scene. I don't understand. While there are some comedians here that have some hacky trans jokes, like I've said before, there's as long as you're funny, it doesn't seem to matter who you are, what you are. And so I don't quite understand Marc Maron's um, criticism because, and I just posted this on Twitter, but Marc Maron's never had it that I can tell. I looked through his list of episodes. He's never had a trans comedian on his podcast. He had a large podcast for years. I think he's just announced he's ending it, but he's criticizing Tony Hinchcliffe and Joe Rogan and all these folks, but yet Tony Hinchcliffe has had many trans comedians on Kill Tony and has been very kind to them. And like me and others have got bookings from being on his podcast. Like Tony's done more for trans comedians than Marc Maron has, from what I can tell. Now, there might be also people who have punch down jokes in the same building, and maybe Tony has jokes that some might criticize as being anti-trans, but they're jokes. And the fact that he might have a joke that maybe some people think is offensive to trans people, he's also platformed more trans comedians than anybody else with that size of a podcast. The number one comedy show in the world has given more opportunities to trans comics than Marc Maron has ever done. Unless he's doing it behind the scenes and not telling anyone about it. Like, I don't get how you can criticize it entirely. I get the criticizing the hacky trans jokes. I don't think Tony's are, but I know of other comedians that have some, and I'll criticize them too. Like not that they can't tell them, that they should just work harder and do better. Like, some of them come from a perspective of they've likely never met a trans person. So it just seems a little out of touch, not so much that it's just, you know, punching down. Now, there was one guy at the Sunset Strip. I'm not gonna say his name, but he was there at the secret show, and he was after all the big names leave the secret show, and I guess that's when you're supposed to leave because they kept saying, "We're surprised people are still in the audience." So one comedian comes out near the end, and he didn't have many good jokes to begin with. Actually, he didn't really have any. He just kept reading a bunch of things off his phone. I wonder if ChatGPT wrote some of these thoughts that he was reading off. But he got really hostile about like trans, and then when he found out I was trans in the crowd, um, you know, and maybe he was doing it as a bit, but he was kind of over the top about his visceral reaction to a trans person. It was much like a "ew, get away from me" type. I mean, he ended up shaking my hand and saying, "Oh, I'm just playing," and stuff, but, like, it wasn't that funny. It was more concerning that, like, "Oh, this guy probably does feel this way," which is fine, like, believe and feel however you wanna feel. I mean, I'm packing just like any other tranny, like, I carry a gun, so I'm not that worried, but it's just weird to me that there wasn't a whole lot of effort being put into the comedic value of that interaction. Like, you're talking a lot about trans, or he was saying trannies, of course, which I say too. And then he points me out and says something, and I say, "Actually, I'm trans," and he's like, "What? What?" Like, so surprised. Um, I felt like he could have done something better than that, and it would have been funnier. I mean, it was kind of funny that he was that scared of a trans person, like booga booga. Like, I don't know. But Marc Maron had some fair criticisms, but at the same time, Tony Hinchcliffe's platformed more trans people than he has, as far as comedians go, and given us more opportunities than ever. And so, while there's some people, and just like any area, there's probably some people that have hacky trans jokes, we're going to elevate them. That's why I'm here, is to elevate them. So I could sit back in my corner and criticize from LA like Marc Maron is doing, or wherever he's at, or you could come here and change it. And so that's what I'm doing. So I guess it's 50-50. There's a little truth to what Marc Maron's saying, but also, what leg does he have to stand on? Oh, we got some comments in the chat. Nathaniel, hello. Nathaniel Eddie says, hello. And he says, I know that's right. Okay, so that must have been about the Marc Maron stuff. Yeah, yeah. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. And appreciate you interacting in the chat. If you're on YouTube, you can interact in the chat. Nathaniel says, I used to be homophobic growing up, but ended up becoming bi. Yeah, I mean, sometimes the most visceral reactions to me being trans, like the over the top, it's usually someone's closeted in some way. And I don't get it. Like, I'm not straight and I don't have the reaction to straight people. I'm not, um, trying to think. I'm not Muslim and I don't have that reaction to Muslims, right? Like, it would be weird to react that way to any other group of people. Um, this guy was black who had this weird reaction on stage to me. And so, what if I was on stage and looked down and saw him and said, "Ooh, a black person?" Ugh. Like, eh, if you flip it a little bit and switch it from trans to black, that's when you realize some of these jokes are kind of hacky. It's not that they can't be said. It's just like, could you imagine doing that about a black person or something? Ooh, blacks. Ooh, Asians. Like, there's no effort there. Like, you're just reacting in a way that's dumb. And so, while there are good black jokes, there are good Asian jokes out there, like, there's plenty out there that are clever and funny and come up with a new take on stereotypes. Like, I would love that, but this guy wasn't doing any of that. He was just ranting and reacting to a trans person who paid to see him. Like, I paid for that show, and I was sitting in the front row, and, it's just funny that that's how he reacts, that like a baby. Probably wanted to fuck me. That's what most of them wanna do anyway, so I'm not surprised. Alright. What else did I do? Oh, my sister came to town this week. So my sister was visiting, um, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and so we went to a Comedy Mothership show Tuesday night. We went to Bottom of the Barrel, which is like a riff mic where comedians pull topics out. Tommy Pope closed the night there, which was really fun. I really enjoy watching him. He was in Tires, if you watch that Netflix show with Shane Gillis. And what is it? Oh, we went to Mitzi's afterwards because we went to the earlier show. And Mitzi's bar, I just want to give a shout out to Jasmine, who I think is the manager there. Either way, she is phenomenal at making drinks and taking care of you. So if you go to Mitzi's and Jasmine's there, like tell her I say hello, tell her Joe sent you because she's awesome. And she hooked me up with some really nice made drinks, me and my sister. And yeah, we stayed a little late, which was fun. A lot of comedians came in, and we got to chat with them and talk to them, which was really cool. It was a really like Tuesday nights are like a chill night, and so some of the comedians sometimes come in early to Mitzi's bar and just hang out before they close it down and turn it into a comics only. And do these shows ever get recorded? Nathaniel asks. No, not the one that I'm talking about that I was at. They actually lock up your phones and stuff. Um, so no, they don't get recorded. But my live streams are, so you can watch or listen on YouTube. But yeah, so anyway, some comedians came in and Tony Hinchcliffe came in and Joe DeRosa and oh God, what's that Kill Tony comedian? David Lucas. Having a brain fart. David Lucas came in. We talked to him. He was really cool, real chill. And I think he was drinking like tequila or something. And Martin was there, who's also a Kill Tony regular. And it was just cool to just like at like almost like clockwork, like right at 10 till 11, which is when they close. Like all these comedians came in. And which is cool because they recognize me from Kill Tony. A lot of them do anyway, and I got to chat with them a little bit and just kind of hang out and shoot the shit with them. And so that's amazing, and that's like that can only happen if you're here and you're around. And by chance, like I had no idea that that was going to happen. I was just enjoying a drink with my sister and chit chatting with Jasmine, who is a great bartender and really sweet to talk to. So I highly recommend Mitzi's Bar if you are in Austin, Texas. And if you hang out late enough near closing, you might spot one of your favorite comedians or a few, especially during the week. So yeah, that's a good tip if you're interested. They do push you out at 11 because they shut it down so that way it's comics and staff only, and then they smoke in there and stuff, which you can't have a public establishment with smoking inside. So maybe one day I'll get to be there after hours and hang with them longer. But until then, it's really cool that they want to come through and they'll take pictures with you and stuff. And so my sister got a picture with Tony Hinchcliffe, and that was really fun. And everyone was just so super kind, super sweet. Um, I exchanged some words with Tony, like I talked about on the last stream. Um, just some more follow up and talked about like the Slate article I was in that was about his show and stuff, and it was just really neat to chat and get tips and advice and like like they're so giving. It's crazy, and that's why I keep saying like Marc Maron is criticizing them about trans jokes, and yet they're doing so much for a trans comedian, many trans comedians, not just me. And so I would just recommend Marc Maron consider doing the same. And maybe he does. I'm not saying he doesn't, I guess. I guess I am, but I'm publicly he doesn't. Like I don't know of any Marc Maron platform I can get on that I can sign up and just get pulled out of a bucket and get millions of views. Like, where do I do that, Marc Maron? I would love that. Anyhow, so yeah, Mitzi's Bar, see Jasmine, she's awesome. I saw 6 shows at the Mothership this week. I saw Cam Patterson a couple of times, which was really cool because the crowd was losing their minds because the Saturday Night Live, announcement came out this week that Cam Patterson's gonna be on SNL, which is amazing. I'm so excited for him, and, so the audience was losing their mind every time he came out and did a spot. I saw him at Sunset Strip at the Secret Show, and I also saw him at the Best of at the Mothership that I saw, with my sister, and, he crushed. He crushed every time. Really good material, really funny, really engaging and vulnerable, and, like, it's just like he's put in the work, you can tell. He's really, it's not a matter of if, but when with this guy, when he's gonna be filling arenas and stuff, so, um, really cool to see. Really cool to see someone who came up through Kill Tony. Once again, another thanks to Tony Hinchcliffe. Like, if it wasn't for that platform, w Cam might not have had the same rise that he's had. Now, he probably would have been successful with his drive and his work ethic and stuff, but it's definitely, um Kill Tony's definitely made a huge, difference in that spot, I think. Let's see, what else did I do? That's about it this week. Um, I'm going to try to do an open mic at Creek in the Cave tomorrow. And I think this light is a little bright. There we go. Creek in the Cave tomorrow. If I get picked, it's an open mic, but you have to sign up Monday through Friday. And then Sunday, I think they send out a list by email if you got it. So try to do that. If not, I might go see Banana Phone, which is a show they do where the audience can heckle people on stage. So I don't know if I'll sign up for that, but I've heard it's a really funny show to watch. So I might go watch. And I found out since I'm considered a comedian that I can get in free, which is really cool. I could have saved some money on so many tickets I bought the last 2 weeks, but I mean, at the same time, I want to contribute because I'm coming in and doing all these free open mics and getting a lot of stage time for free. And so, at the same time, I don't mind contributing some money towards the establishment for that and to the comedians that are performing. So yeah, I'll go check that out at Creek in the Cave tomorrow, and then watch Banana Phone. And I've been writing this weekend, so like today, mostly writing. Yesterday, writing more jokes, and Monday is my last Kill Tony attempt and Mothership open mic attempt. So I'm gonna sign up for both of those. Not tomorrow, Monday. Yeah, Monday. So I'm gonna sign up for both of those Monday and see. I don't know. See if I get picked. It's random, so who knows? And if not, this trip has still been a success. Like, success wasn't based on me getting picked again for Kill Tony. It was just come here, get into the community, meet people, get stage time. It'd be really cool if I get Mothership open mic or Kill Tony, but at the same time, if I don't, I don't. I will be back in November because I am now doing 3 months in Austin in November, and I will be driving out here, so I'll have my car, which is gonna be nice. And yeah, I'm gonna do the winter here, so it'll be much cooler temperatures, which will be nice. And yeah, no, I'm just really excited. Like, once again, like, the Austin comedy scene is so welcoming. It's so open and kind. At least they have been to me. That's been my experience. And that's the kind of vibes I send out, is open and kind. And that's what I've been getting back from everyone. Um, I'm not looking for a handout. I'm trying to pay my dues. I'm showing up. I'm signing up. I'm waiting in line and doing what other folks are doing. And I think people respect that. And like I said, they could be cold to me, but they're not. And so that's just really cool. Um, that the community here is so open and welcoming of new people. And I think that's worth mentioning more often. I think a lot of people think Austin, Texas, because of people like Marc Maron, I think people think Austin, Texas comedy is this anti-woke, like, magosphere, Rogansphere, and I jokingly use those terms about it, but It's not entirely. Now there are some of those aspects, right? Like Joe Rogan is here and his podcast is here and it is his club, and some people might associate that with being like a MAGA thing, and that I think there are a lot of right-leaning people in the audience, and that's why I'm here, is because they have influence with the type of people that aren't hearing my story. And so I don't know, like, I don't know if my story's come across Joe Rogan's feed yet, but I would just hope that, I mean, that is my goal, is to get an invite to his podcast. Like, that was one of the main reasons why I did all this stuff. Like, I want to advocate and use this as a vehicle, but I've been trying since, I think, February, since I was on Brett Weinstein's podcast, which he's been on Rogan a few times. So since I've been on Brett Weinstein's podcast, Dark Horse, that was back in February, I've been really hoping to get an invite to Rogan's, or one of like a Tim Dillon or Theo Vaughn or someone in that sphere, because I'm not hearing my story being told on this platform. Excuse me, sounded froggy. Not hearing my story being told on these platforms. And I hear them talk about the crash in DC, but they don't talk about me, which is fine. And I hear them talk about trans stuff all the time. And they talk about foreign policy, all these things that I can converse on. I'm into fitness. I'm into, like, I used to coach CrossFit. Um, I like to race cars. I like to shoot guns. Like, if you take away me being trans, and I posted this on Twitter too, if you take away me being trans, everything else, interests and hobbies, stand-up comedy now, is like a typical guest of a Rogan or any of those types of platforms. And so hopefully, hopefully he sees this as like, like, geez, that was admirable. Like, this trans person learned how to do stand-up comedy so that way they could go to my club, Comedy Mothership, and perform on stage to tell it to people that aren't hearing it. Like, if anything, it's flattering, right? Like, maybe it's a little pick-me-ish. Maybe it's a little like, oh, please notice me. I mean, it is like, that is what I'm doing. Like, please notice me. Like, I think it would be a great episode because he recently had Graham Lennon on, and Graham Lennon was just recently posting pictures of me, like, criticizing my looks and shit. And so it's like, I love that he had Graham Lennon on. I'm actually a fan of Graham's comedy, not a fan of his behavior lately, but like, I can separate the two. And if you're gonna have folks like Graham Lennon on, and and it's just so one-sided, trans, like, have me on, have someone like me on, like, have someone on that can offer a more pragmatic approach to the issue and humanize it a little bit. Because while he's had Blair White on and a few others, that's been a long time ago. And with the shooting in Minneapolis and RFK and what he's doing about SSRIs and the talk about HRT and how the DOJ is looking at ways to ban trans people from having guns. Like, I just feel like a gun-toting trans person who used to fly Blackhawks, who races cars, coached CrossFit, does stand-up comedy as advocacy, and can laugh at herself. I would just think that that would be the ideal person to have on. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm a huge fan at the same time. So, like, I've listened to him for years. So it'd be like a dream to, like, actually be on it. But at the same time, I know it would be what I consider the ultimate goal of what I'm doing, is because so many outlets covered my story and have covered me, and I'm so thankful. But so many of those outlets tend to be on the side of the issue that kind of already agrees, whereas folks like Brett Weinstein allowed me to speak to an audience, and folks like Brad Palumbo, I was on his podcast as well, allowed me to speak to a more right-leaning audience, which is actually my background. I come from a right-leaning world. I voted more red than blue, and I don't, I don't know. Like, I want to reach people that aren't hearing it, because otherwise, I'm never going to change people's minds if I'm talking to people that already agree that it's BS. I'm being discharged and all these things about trans military and trans women in sports and pediatric gender affirming care, healthcare, like all these topics that they're not hearing a nuanced, pragmatic approach to them. They're only hearing all or nothing. Like we should or we absolutely shouldn't. And I don't know. We'll see. If anyone knows how to get a hold of Rogan or put my story in front of him, um, maybe crowd campaign it, like just tag him in anything, mention me, mention my story. I'm gonna start doing that more now. I think I'm about to be profiled for a major publication, mm, maybe in a couple weeks, so that might help. But at the same time, it's not a publication that is considered to be right leaning, so I don't know if it'll help me get on Rogan, but that's I'm gonna use that opportunity to speak during that profiling that I can be like, "Hey, like, I'm using comedy's advocacy, huge fan of comedy. I look up to people like Rogan, and I want to also help educate and share a story that they're not hearing, from someone who speaks more like them and, you know, comes from that world." So, enough ranting and blabbering about how I try to get on the Joe Rogan Experience. Um, that's just what's been on my mind, and so I've been putting a lot of effort into how I can do that. I just don't know any other way than just keep doing what I'm doing, and if he notices me, he'll invite me. If not, he's also got, like, thousands of people, I'm sure, in line to be interviewed, so even if he did have me on a list somewhere, the dude's busy. I mean, it could be a long time even if he already wanted to have me on, so, um but yeah, that's my goal. That's my goal. But in the meantime, I'll talk to anyone else. If anyone else wants to have me on, I'm glad to share my story. I did record a podcast here in Austin with some local folks who were really kind. They haven't launched it yet, so I won't give the details away. But it's coming soon, and so I'm excited to share that because it was at a podcast studio, which was really cool. Really nice setup, and so yeah, I'm still doing stuff. Like I said, major publications going to do a profile on me. I did that podcast this week. I got a lot of stage time in Austin. I think I've got more stage time in 2 weeks than I've gotten in months. Back where I'm from in Virginia, so that's exciting. Uh, and then hopefully I'll do some more this weekend and kill Tony on Monday. Hanging out, waiting and hoping I get plucked from obscurity again so I can give a sequel to my story. And also the Mothership open mic, that's 3 minutes, which is kind of like an audition in a sense. If you do well enough, I heard you get callbacks, and then you might become regular there that way. And so I'll be working on my 3 minutes and my 1 minute and also writing more jokes as well. But that's all for tonight, folks. I am going to eat some food and relax, write, and I just want to thank Nathaniel for jumping into the live chat and chatting with me a little bit. It's always nice when people do that. You can do that on YouTube. I don't think you can do it on um, X, but 37 people watching. That's pretty awesome. Thank you so much. I will repost this as a actual video. Hey, Nathaniel says thank you. I say thank you too. It's nice to have people that want to listen to me. It's just crazy. What a world. Um, but yeah, I'll repost this on YouTube as an actual video instead of it being the live stream because they tend to do better on YouTube than if you just leave it as a live stream that stays up. And I'll probably post on X too, make some clips, especially the part about trying to be on Joe Rogan. I feel like I'm like the trans Joe Rogan. Like I posted a joke yesterday. It's like the Joe estrogen experience. And it was like a similar format to his podcast logo and stuff. Um, but yeah, I it's just wild. It's just wild. It's so surreal. It's not lost on me how different my life is. And part of people who are my story is resonating with them, but then also very kind people in Austin in the comedy world, people like Tony Hinchcliffe who have given me the opportunity to tell my story. Like, it's just amazing. Everyone else that's helped me along the way. Some other prominent comedians have been very kind to me in DMs as far as I'm just asking for advice because I don't know what I'm doing. And just 2 weeks ago, I opened at Parks Casino for Ian Lara and did 10 minutes, and it went really well. Um, but I have no idea what I'm doing because I'm still also kind of stuck in the open mic grind. Um, so I'm looking for more gigs to get booked, and I know I'm leaving the country for a few weeks, so it's gonna be tough. But when I come back, I'm gonna try to do some maybe don't tell comedies, which is like a national network of comedy shows that's been happening in different towns. I think I'd be good for that, a don't tell comedy show. And then also just I'll take free spots. Like, it doesn't have to be paid. I just want time and exposure and a chance to tell my story. So thank you all very much. Have a wonderful evening, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye.